Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Thursday, the 13th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris?
All good. As I said, just as I joined us 10 seconds ago, hot-footed it straight from a Talking Point episode with Stevie, so people can catch that on the site over the weekend. So half an hour of Rangers chat already under my belt this morning, and primed and ready to go for the second half.
There you go, folks. Don't say we don't spoil you. Even though we're in an international break, plenty of Rangers Review content coming your way over the weekend. And, of course, today. Plenty to get our teeth stuck into. Before we do that, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willow's Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade. No job is too big or too small. You get 10% off if you use the code Rangers Review over on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Do go and check them out, folks. Right, where shall we start? Well, a bit of news. The fallout from that League Cup semi-final continues, Chris. We're waiting for Willie Collum's VAR review show. They sort of all right on the night for Scottish football referees. And, reports yesterday saying that he is backing the match referee at the time, which was Nick Walsh, and their decision not to send off Austin Trusty in that game at Hampden, of course, when the American defender collided and hit Jack Butland in the head. So now the reports state that the head of referees and the SFA will back Nick Walsh and the VAR team by only booking Trusty. He's going to say that is the correct call. Now, Rangers, of course, have lodged a complaint with the SFA regarding the decision and following the KMI incident when it was found it was a majority 2-1 back to sending off. Rangers were requesting a meeting with the SFA on the back of that. However, it's believed that Collum is convinced that Trusty's actions did not show the necessary force and malice to warrant a red card. As Lemmy sketch goes, don't back down, double down there, Chris. So it looks like he's backing his man. What do you make of that?
It's marking your own homework, isn't it? And unsurprisingly, when you do that, you always come out of it looking really good. We spoke a lot about that decision after the event. No one on the show will be surprised to understand that we've got a very different view of that particular incident than the SFA. I think we made that clear immediately after it, and in the days after it. There's no way that can be justified as a yellow card offence. It's a red card all day long. It's the clearest red card, the easiest red card that they had, or one of the easiest red cards that they should have been able to issue over the course of the season so far. And Willie just seems to be he's backing himself into a corner here, isn't he? And I'm sure I haven't spoken to anyone at Rangers about it yet since that story came out. But I would imagine that Rangers will not take that lying down. I think they'll ask further questions. They will continue to go at the SFA over that decision. Just as you were kind of going through the kind of precursor there, Derek, and you explain that. What decision was it that they finally released the audio from? Was it SEMA at Parkhead that they put the audio out over? There might have been, it was Nick Walsh, the Diomande one. Did they put it out over that? There have been that many of these things over the years. I can't actually remember. But it'd be interesting to hear what the process was during that conversation, and interesting to know what conversations have been held since. I say there's no one that you're going to convince of a Rangers persuasion that wasn't a red card. But they seem to be sticking to their guns. They seem to be sticking to their position. So as Jack Butland said when he spoke about it, was it last Friday? I think he did that press conference and he spoke about it. If that is now the example, if that's now the bar, if that's now the precedent, well, let's see what happens next time a goalkeeper gets kicked in the head.
Yeah, very dangerous precedent it sets for me. No surprise to see Collum going to come out and back his man. It said at the time, we've discussed that decision and the officiating at length. I don't think there's a real appetite for change in the SFA. I think when they mentioned when Crawford Ireland departed, it was a real chance for the governing body to appoint someone out with Scottish football, but they stuck by Willie Collum, and there you go. We're going to get decisions like this. Just notice my face has frozen. Hopefully you can still hear me, folks, but we'll crack on regardless. Moving on from that, just a piece on the website this morning, Chris, delving back to you, a good insight into Danny Rohl from his time at Sheffield Wednesday. You've spoken to someone that covers the club in close detail down there, and what can people expect without giving too much away from your piece this morning?
Well, as you rightly say, don't give too much away because you have to go and read it. You have to go and subscribe to see all the details in it. But it was good to catch up with Rob Staton. He's the one of the Sheffield Wednesday versions of ourselves, if you like, who follows Wednesday home and away, and who puts a lot of time and effort into following Wednesday. He also saw the Danny Rohl tenure era, if you like, at close hand. And safe to say, he was a big fan of the way that he conducted himself and in a press sense, but more importantly for Wednesday fans, the impact that he made. So that piece gives a bit of insight into what Danny is like as a man, what he's like as a manager, and really, I think the Wednesday fans. Now it's been 5 months or so ago since he was finally able to get himself out of his contract there, and he left. Safe to say, he's certainly missed. And as Rob was saying, they've obviously had their own so many issues off the park under that particular ownership. When they come out the other side of that and they have a bit of stability and they have a bit of structure and they potentially have a wee bit of finance behind them again, the fans are just a bit upset, if you like, that it's not Danny Rohl that's going to be leading that new era, because I think they believe that with the right backing and in the right circumstances, he could have been the man to take them back to the Premier League. And you look at the situation he inherited, and we walked in there a club that hadn't won in 10 after their worst start in their history under Cisco, the manager that had been brought in. He just made such a big difference on and off the park in terms of the feel-good factor amongst the support, in terms of the way that the players responded to messages, and the way that they were then able to go and pick up results. One of the stories that's in that piece, they had a trip to Plymouth and then an away game at Norwich. As a guy that covers the length and breadth of the country yourself, you'll know that the schedule is not always kind to you when it comes to some of the away games, but sending a team from Sheffield to Plymouth and then Norwich in the space of a couple of days, also not ideal scheduling wise. So rather than making that journey down and then back up and then having a recovery day and then having to go down and back up again, decided just to stay down in Plymouth for a couple of days and then head across to Norwich after that game. Made his decision he was going to stay and basically just spent the days in between barely having a wink of sleep, just preparing, looking back at the first game, preparing for the second game, preparing for the weeks to come, and they were able to get results. Now they won 3-2 or 3-0, sorry, at Plymouth on the Saturday. Went to Norwich on the Tuesday, and a certain Jedi Gassama scored the winner. They came back from 2-0 down at half time. I think it was 3 goals in 12 minutes they got in that second half. Gassama got the winner for them. It wasn't enough, obviously, to keep them in that playoff contention. They just missed out, but they had a really solid season second time around under really, really difficult circumstances. So the Wednesday fans have certainly taken to him, and as Rob outlines in that piece, it gives us the kind of origins of the Danny Rohl "Daddy Cool" song as well. So that's certainly worth. I encourage people to go and check it out.
Yeah, I did enjoy reading it this morning, and I've been pretty satisfied with him so far. I mean, that's coming up 4 weeks in the job, and he's won all his league fixtures. Lost, of course, at the 2 European matches. I don't think Bran was all on him. Roma was Roma. I think it's no disgrace to lose to them, but Rangers really showed that the gap in quality between the two teams at Ibrox, and then of course we've had the semi-final as well. If you were to sort of rate his opening 4 weeks, Chris, a report card format? What would you, 1 to 10? What would you stick him in? I would probably say 7.
We're back to marking our homework, are we? I think 7's a fair. I think it's a fair assessment. That night in Bran obviously is not. That was not on him. That was on those players who once again just failed to turn up. I think the post-match interviews from James Tavernier that night showed you where the fingers of blame should have been pointed in that regard for that result. Premiership wise, it's been good. He's done what he had to do. He's won the games. As myself and Stevie speak about on the talking point that's out over the weekend. The challenge now is, can he follow that up? Can he go and make it 4 from 4, 5 from 5, 6 out of 6? If you do that, the expectation then changes, because he's no longer a guy coming in, inheriting a really poor squad and managing to get a wee tune out of them in a new manager bounce scenario. That then becomes, right, there's a wee bit of momentum here. People then start thinking, well, what's possible? What can they go and do in the title race? So he's got a challenge in that regard to continually improve and make this side better. But certainly Premiership wise, I think it's been good. It's been what it had to be. Roma was a step too far because the squad's just not there. Previous Rangers squads, I think we would have backed them to go and put in a performance and potentially get a result that night. This group, they are not beating Roma. And the Old Firm game, obviously, we've touched on. Decisions go against you. Moments in the game, big moments in the game, like the Sharmiti chances, Gassama one, the Raskin one, when you don't take them, you're not going to win Old Firm games. So I think he will have learned an awful lot over the last 4 weeks. Probably feels a lot longer than 4 weeks for him, but it's been a real learning curve for him. Interested to see now how they come back out of this international break, because again that's been an issue for Rangers over recent seasons. The fixtures are good for them. You've got 2 league games at Ibrox. Go and win them. European wise, who knows? That's done. That's not something that they can really focus on because of the situation that they're in. But you're looking at what can they do to raise performance levels in those matches and potentially pick up a couple of results just to give everybody a bit more of a feel good factor in that regard. But league wise, that's where it's all at now. And as I said, 3 from 3 has to become 4 out of 4 and 5 out of 5 over the next week or so.
Yeah, and some favourable fixtures coming up as well for Rangers when they return. Some comments saying my mic is a bit low. Chris, am I coming on a bit low there, or should I up my mic volume?
You dipped down briefly earlier on, but it sounds fine now. I also see a lot of people saying if I'm still at Dens Park, am I sitting in the dark? We're sitting in the dark. I know Josh and I got about 10 minutes through the post-match show the other night, and I saw somebody walking up the stairs. Didn't think anything else of it. And next thing I know, he flicks a switch at the back of the stand, and we're plunged into darkness there. So, as we always say, proof that we are coming to you live on this show.
Yeah, it's not the best at Dens Park, is it, in terms of the press area? It's a tad squeezy and dark up the back of that.
That's what it is. It says live at Dens under my name, because that would have been the last time I was.
There we go. Yes.
Thank you to Colin for no, that's the wrong one. There we go. Thank you to Colin for pointing that out to us. I'll find a way to change that.
There we go. The eagle-eyed viewers. I was wondering that earlier on. I said, does it look like Dens? Chris is at Dens there, but yeah, well done for spotting that, folks. Right, moving on from that. So a really interesting question that's come up here. We'll address this from Rangers man at 55 shortly, but other bit of news from yesterday. We are in the international break. One player who hasn't had a look in of late is Nadim Bajrami. He has been called up to the Albanian squad for their World Cup doubleheader. They're playing against Andorra and England. And Silvino, remember him, former Arsenal left-back. He is a manager at Albania, and he's been speaking about Bajrami. He says he's been part of a very good journey with us. Do you know who our top scorer has been in the last 3 years? It's Bajrami with 7 goals. So I want players who know how to score goals in my squad. It's true that I'm not happy or satisfied with his position at his club, and he is not satisfied either. But I look at his numbers and have faith in him. I can't imagine him being satisfied at not getting a chance at Rangers. I would like to see him getting an opportunity, Chris, especially given he's not part of the European squad. Surely he's deserving of a chance domestically in these games, given what we've seen. And I think Rangers, I'm not saying he's a saviour by any matter of means, but he is capable of playing against teams in this league, surely.
You would have thought so, given his profile, given that he still seems to be highly rated at international level. I think people will naturally look at Tello Asgard and they'll look at his form, look at his contribution, and say if he's still the first pick in that position, and he's still the guy that Rangers are putting their faith in, how bad must be Dean Bajrami be in training if Asgard is still the guy that Rangers are going for? I think the change of system or the change of shape maybe suits Bajrami. Could he give you an option in that Danilo role, for example? Certainly in terms of where Asgard has been playing, I think he could come in there. I was fairly strong against Bajrami last season. I think there was a number of moments that it just looked like he didn't have the character to be a Rangers player. I think there's definitely a natural level of talent there. Technically, I think he's good enough, certainly, to be a player in this league, as you say. But there was moments where you questioned the other side of it, and you thought, is there enough there to be a Rangers player? Those same questions could easily be pointed at Tello Asgard. I think both of them are in that same bracket. Surprised that Bajrami has not had more minutes, and as we just discussed there, the fixtures coming up, potential there for him to get a wee look in, to get a chance. As you say, not in the European squad, so it wasn't going to play against Roma. You're not going to go and stick him into an old firm. I don't think he's done enough to earn the back and to go and play Easter Road. But you've got Olivia, you've got Falkirk coming up at Ibrox. Half an hour in the second half of one of those games, go and try and show what you can do, go and try and make some form of impact. And even if it just raises his level slightly, even if it puts a wee bit of doubt in Asgard's mind to say, well, actually this guy might not be as far out of the picture as everybody thinks, I have to then raise my levels just to keep him in behind me. That might bring something out of Asgard as well. So interested to see how that plays out. I think if we get to January and there's still no real movement, there's still no pick up in terms of Bajrami's minutes, then you're looking at what can they do to get him out the door. You can't have someone off his profile sitting in the stand every week. That's money that can be used in a more effective way. And as we all know, Rangers do have to go into the transfer market come January to try and improve this squad and try and improve this team.
Yeah, he started one game this season. That was at home to Alloa. Scored a belter as well, if you remember, at Ibrox. And then he's came off the bench in a number of games. The last time he appeared was Russell Martin's last game in charge, which was away to Falkirk. Played 7 minutes in that 1-1 draw, and we haven't seen him since. He was on the bench against Dundee at the weekend, but never appeared. So, it will be interesting to see what the future holds for Bajrami. But he's a player as well. I mean, it's a team that isn't exactly littered with experienced heads in that squad. So he would add that. And you're quite right in bringing up Tello Asgard, who hasn't exactly set the hell of a light with his performances. So, I would like to see more of him. Daniel Rohl hasn't elected to play him at this point in time. Dana Life doing my job for you, says smash the like button, Bears. Yeah, absolutely. Please, folks, it helps us here at the channel. If you hit that subscribe button as well, that'll help us at the channel as well. So thank you for that. The point from, in fact, we'll get to Rangers Man's point in a minute. Another bit of news, you'll have seen it off-field news yesterday, folks. And Patrick Stewart has been appointed to the legal and Regulatory Working Group of the European Football Clubs, EFC for short. His Rangers substitute's appointment places Rangers within one of EFC's most influential governance forums, which helps directly shape decisions involving disciplinary frameworks, licensing systems, integrity structures at UEFA, FIFA, and EU levels. So, it's above my head, certainly, Chris, and I'm sure many supporters' heads. But, he's been appointed to this board. I think I see something on social media yesterday when Rangers posted that message that perhaps he was leaving the club. But no, he has been appointed to a European board. Your thoughts on that?
When you saw that image of Ibrox that they used for the club statements and the first two words are Patrick Stewart, I think people were wondering where it was going. You then obviously read the rest of it and you find out what the actual story is. It can't hurt. It can't be a negative. Now, if you can have, we've spoken about this previously in terms of the domestic game. I think actually was at the start of this season there was a whole raft of Rangers appointments onto various SFA and SPFL committees and subcommittees and quangos and bodies and all the rest of it. Having guys in these meetings and on these bodies and in these particular forums, it can never be a bad thing. You'd rather be there than not be there. The fact that it sounds more of a legal one is no surprise because that's obviously Patrick's background. I think that's where his experiences are. That's where his skill set is. So it's no surprise that that's the type of group and body that he's going to be involved in. But so you'd rather have people in these arenas than not. So hopefully there's some benefit that Rangers can get out of it.
Yeah, Greg Marshall as well, Rangers head of fan engagement and supporter liaison, has been appointed to the EFC's newly formed fans working group. So Rangers sit alongside Atletico Madrid, Man City, RB Leipzig, Feyenoord, and Juventus on that forum. So there you go, a couple of appointments off the pitch for Rangers. Right, there was this interesting point I wanted to bring up. What do you guys make of all the contracts up between January and the end of the season? Any opinions on who stays and who goes? For me, Tav and Suter go at the end of the season. Dowell as well, the forgotten man, Kieran Dowell. He's been well out the picture, hasn't he? When he was playing a real part when Russell Martin initially took over, played a lot more than I expected. But there you go, he hasn't been seen for a long time. What do you make of that point, though, on the out of contract players, Chris? On the issue of Tav and Suter, here's where I stand on it, and I'm sure I'll get the comments in shortly on Tav. I'd be thinking about offering him an extension. I don't see. I think it's I hark back to when Connor Goldson after that League Cup final against Aberdeen a couple of seasons ago when he says, "You won't realise what you've got in Tav until he's gone." I think it might be a thing for Rangers to think about giving them an extension, whether that's a year or 2 years, probably on reduced terms, perhaps, if he's up for that. But he's been a fantastic servant to the football club. And I get that many would want a clean slate. It was a big talking point in the summer, of course. We're all discussing new manager coming in. Will he dispose of the captain and bring someone else in? But he's here playing pretty much every minute of every game. John Suter, I think it's probably telling that he hasn't been offered a new deal at this point, although said that with Connor Goldson, of course, who ran down his contract and then was given a new one. Tav and Suter to begin with. I'm just trying to think of any other out of contract players. Dowell goes. That's just a given. Your thoughts on that?
I had actually forgotten that Kieran Dowell existed until a couple of days ago. Somebody mentioned his name the other day there, and I thought he's actually still at Rangers. Completely forgot that Rabbi Matondo was still on the books as well. He's one of these guys you just assume that he left on loan, and you think I better go and find out how he's doing in the German third division. But he is actually still a Rangers player. On, as you say, Dowell goes. That's the easiest decision that MD will make all season. Apart from the one to sack Russell Martin. On the other two, I don't think you have a great groundswell of opinion saying give John Souttar a contract. I think people will be fairly not nonplussed about that. Certainly as it stands, it's certainly on form. I think if he is going to remain, we need to see more in the second half of the season, and we need to see a big upturn from him in the second half of the season. Otherwise, people will rightly say you can do better than that. Tav, I know that will be a big issue. It's going to be a big talking point as the campaign goes on and as his contract gets nearer the end. If Max Aarons had looked like he was going to be the Rangers right back for the next 3 seasons, then I think it becomes an easier question. But he's not. So if you allow Tav to leave, you need 2 right backs. You need one that you can rely on every single week, that is going to be a leader in the dressing room, that's going to be a leader on the park, that's going to contribute, that's going to be reliable, that's going to be robust. That's your first port of call for the summer. You then need a backup that can be a proper challenger, that can take a bit of pressure off and that can chip in. Rangers don't have that backup right now. They do still have James Tavernier. Now, has his influence been reduced over recent seasons? You only need to look at the goals and assists. He's clearly not at the levels that he was a few seasons ago.
I think too reliant on him.
But he has still chipped in big moments this season. I don't think he has been anywhere near Rangers' worst performer this season. I don't think he's anywhere near the biggest issue in this Rangers squad right now. I would have no issue with him getting another contract. As you say, it has to be on reduced terms. It can't be on still big money and another 3 years. That would be daft. But if you get the situation where you can give him another year and he can still be in and around the squad, and he then becomes in the situation where he has someone ahead of him that's going to take a bit of that burden. Someone else comes in, you perhaps spend a bit of money on a new right back. That's the guy that nails down that position, and you've then got Tav as your backup. I don't think you're going to get a better backup right back than James Tavernier, who knows the club, knows the league. Mentioned his interview in Bran. I think we've seen him being a bit more forthright, been a bit more angry, a bit more upset over the course of the season. I think that's a good thing, because for so many seasons it was a bit nonplussed in these interviews, and perhaps didn't convey his true anger and upset and disappointment and frustration when he actually did these post-match interviews. I think that's changed this season. You need guys that know the club, that know the situation, that have won things. Now, James Tavernier, of course, have not won enough over the course of his Rangers career. Is that solely on him? Of course it's not. So if you can go and spend money and you can go and recruit properly and you can get a first choice guy that's going to be your right back for the next 2-3 seasons, by all means, go and do that. Go and try and replace James Tavernier as your starting right back. But I don't think you can replace him from the squad. I don't think you're going to get a better squad option than him. So I would have no issue with him getting another 12 months.
Yeah, he's such a divisive figure, of course, and the comments echo that. Some interesting points coming in. Barry Turnbull is screaming at his screen. He says, "You must be joking, Derek. No wonder we win nothing with fans like yourself." As if it's a direct correlation between me wanting saying that Tav should maybe be offered a new deal and Rangers not performing on the pitch. So, calm down, Barry, is what I would say on that front. Maka says, don't forget Cifuentes. He's another one, of course, at Toronto, if I'm not mistaken at this moment. Is he at Toronto? Yep, on loan. Yeah, he's another one that Rangers need to try and ship out. Harvey with a point as well. Just another player. And this is a player I would like his future addressed in January, one way or another. It's sort of just been bubbling away in the background. Harvey says, would you give Nico Raskin a new contract? I would give him a new contract. However, if he's not willing to sign said contract, Rangers need to be actively looking at offloading him, because he ran down his contract at Standard Liège to a point where they just accepted a cut price offer for him from Rangers, and the concern is he does that at Rangers as well. Thoughts on that, Chris?
Agreed. It's either sign or sell. They can't afford to lose or to allow an asset like that to run down a deal, especially with a World Cup coming up next summer. Your price goes up if you get to a World Cup. Your price goes up further if you play and perform and impress at a World Cup. Rangers need to the ill-fated player trading model. Rico Raskin should be a success in that regard. Someone who signed for a low fee, as you say, and you then sell him for a high fee. But that only works if the contract situation is there. So out of all of the contract issues in the squad, Rico's is the most important one and the most pressing one.
Yeah. And hopefully it gets resolved one way or another. Wrap up, Fraser, with some nice words. He says, morning, actually afternoon here from Perth, West Australia. I love your show. You do an awesome job. Well, thank you, Fraser. That is very kind of you to say so. Right, we'll wrap up there for today. A big thank you to you all for tuning in to the show and interacting. It's very much appreciated, folks. A big thank you to Chris as well. Do go and check his piece out on Danny Rohl on the website if you have time today. And we'll be back on tomorrow morning. And as Chris mentioned, he's got the talking point with Stevie coming your way over the weekend. I think we're planning to record another show over the weekend as well, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll keep you covered, folks, so you can get your Rangers fix despite the lack of action, of course. Right, enjoy your Thursday, whatever you are doing. And we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.